creatures of the night. Southern Avenue is pretty popular here in Mesa. That's what we call it. We call it the people of Southern that come up and down on here. So I just emailed Don, I don't know how to say his last name, but he's the artist behind the Persona Telefuzz, which is one of my favorite producer artists that I listen to every day. And his song Seychelles, which I think I discovered on Serious Chill back in, gosh, 07. Anyways, a lot's changed since then, and I had a dream. I don't want to say it was inspired by, but it was like it really coincided with. It was one of those lucid dreams I have at like 5 a.m. before I gotta pee, and I play it over and over in my head, and I can see it as real as this video, and every time I hear the song, it plays again in my head, and so. I don't know, I felt gumption, and I was like, I need to do something about this. And so I did some quick research, and I found him, and artist, and I emailed him. Is that? No, that's nobody. So had butterflies in my stomach, and I did my best not to over talk or spew my guts out, but I was very thankful that I had some body of work to show him. Of course, both videos were produced by Mark Silverstein, and it was the About Us video that I have as the intro video to my YouTube channel, which I was explaining to him that I said, well, this is my first time trying to license music. And then I realized that it's actually not. It's actually my second time. The first time was for the intro video. I originally wanted to have Patrick Lee, who I also discovered through Sirius XM on their Chill channel. And Patrick Lee has a, which I think you can get at Patrick Lee Music. I'll put a link in the description. But he has a song called The Pound. And so I actually have a version of the video with his song, but of course I did not release it because I don't have the rights or permission. And so things have changed, and I realized, what I could have done, but I didn't feel right, because I really respect him and his work. And it's some of it's definitely out there. I'm like, wow, I would have never thought this, but I listen to Patrick Lee every day. And I would love to introduce you to him. So if you haven't noticed by now, I'm not a normal person, but I'm not like, I don't feel like I'm extraordinary. I think I have some ideas that many people may or may not have thought about. But I'm just, I'm willing to try. So for me, I'm in a financial position where I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So it's funny, I was fantasizing earlier about going to this guy's studio, Don I don't even want to kill it, Verbrilli. I didn't really study it, but he's the one that his music persona is called Telefuzz. So when I was emailing him, I was like, his website's really beautiful, and I guess he records music now. He's a music producer, and I was looking at his page, and it's beautiful, and it's well manicured and just nice. And I don't know. I imagined wanting to go see him for the weekend, or even like a week or something like that, and just hang out with him and learn from him, and because I also want to produce music, but that's a very long investment, or investment in equipment I can't afford right now because of the situation I'm in. So it's almost like I got to get retired first before I can pursue my music career. Let me get over it. So, but you know, the same thing goes with the film career. You know, I got to get retired and get cash flow positive, because that's basically what retires you. That's what makes you retired, is if your passive income exceeds your expenses, your monthly expenses, then you're retired. Is it full moon, Mama? Almost. Tomorrow ought to be full moon. And you can see the moon with the street light. There you go. That's a good shot. They pulled the hoarder's house. They just took it down to the slab. So you can see right back to the... Is that the bakery?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the bakery. The back of the bakery. So... Yeah, I wanted to film Night Drive because... was it about a week ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a homeless guy hanging out at the bakery. It's not even the bakery anymore. It used to be Alpine Bakery. Alpine Bakery got bought out. They use that building as storage now, which is really expensive storage because it's right there on Southern. So it's really, but I'm sure it's paid for. So like whatever. Because I had hit him up. I was like, hey, I'll fucking keep the homeless people away for you, and then use the inside, of course, for storage and building subwoofers. But they said no. And but anyways, I was patrolling like this, and I found this guy sleeping under the trailer. I was like, hey, bud, you got to go. And of course, he's waking up from some sort of hangover. I don't know if it was alcohol or drugs or whatever. And then like the weather, I guess, was good, and so I asked Sherry. I'm like, hey, you want to go out and patrol with me? And she's like, yeah. So we go, and behind the honey baked ham, there's a spigot, and guess who was taking a shower? Impromptu shower, sitting on the ground, and he had put up his like shopping cart and like a little fence to sort of give him a little privacy, but it was like, this is not real privacy. And I was like, dude, you gotta go. Like, this is unacceptable. Like, you know, this is unacceptable. And he's like, I'm homeless. What am I supposed to do? I'm like, that's not my fucking problem. You know you're not supposed to be back here. You know you're not supposed to be doing this. So you got to go. And then he was like mouthing off, and I was like, nope. So I was like, hello, Popo. And dude, they got over there in a jiffy. It was fucking rad. I was like, ooh, fighting crime. It's like, dude, we do, you know, whatever. Anyways, should not be behind a commercial building showering. So yeah, people are cleaning out their homes, I tell you what. They donate all that shit to Goodwill. Oh, the camera's picking up low light really well. This is cool, because in real life it does not look that good. It's much darker. Perfume.
Deodorant.
There's something.
Some type of
yeah. Smell-o-vision.
Oh, 99 cents.
Oh, we'll come back for it after I finish the video. But yeah, so I wanted to share that with you guys. I had emailed him, and it on his website it says, yes, he will return your email. And I'm like, woo, that's better than Patrick Lee. So not to judge Patrick Lee at all. I'm sure he gets fan mail, and you know, it's a weird thing to deal with. And you know, I even get weird when people are like, oh, I'm a big fan of yours. And I'm like, like, and again, it's not that I don't want fans. I want you guys to do something with this information. Oh, there we go. I want you guys to do something with this information. And yeah, this is a no-no. So we will just kick that in. So we gotta wreck that shit. That is a no-go, Houston. So it was set up like that about a week back. That's good enough for now. So but you know, I was really nervous sending the email, and you know, all that self-doubt was going through my head, and all those, it's basically stuff that Sherry is still working through and getting that part of her life where she, that stuff still rules her day. And so she has a hard time with that. I was able to work through a lot of that when I was trapped at home selling stuff on eBay, and I had to wake up and deal with this, it wasn't a nightmare. It was just a lot of stuff from the ADST auction. And it was just overwhelming every morning. And then, I started collecting more and more, and the wife is like panicking, and I'm like, but I was like, this is free money. Like, how much free money, would you gather if it was just floating around on the ground? Like, you would put some effort into it, right? And she's like, yeah. And I go, well, that's what this is. So, and then when times were good, I was working like maybe 4 hours a day. I was making like 15 a month, and had the fucking Tundra Crew Max, and we would take 2 and 3 hour lunches at Olive Garden and go to the movies. It was fucking great. It was rad. And then the recession came, and I was overextended, and credit card companies are like, hey, we're boosting your APR to 52%. I was like, that's not a good idea. I don't recommend that. Then I click. So, and then the rest is bankruptcy history. So, but no, to counter my anxiety about sending the email, I was like, I was almost pissed at myself, because I go, what's he gonna do? Say no, not return your emails? Like, so what? So fucking what? That's where you're at now. And then for me, I took responsibility for it, which was that, well, you need to get a better resume together. So I certainly don't want to work on my PR. That's not something I'm in a position to work on. And I'm sure if I ever got acquired by, meaning my work got acquired by somebody like Tesla, I'm sure they would go back and erase. They're like, dude, you got to get rid of all those YouTube videos. I'm like, done. And then you guys wouldn't hear from me again. So soak it up now while I'm poor and I'm hungry, and I need to hustle. So and I again, I don't think I'm special. I just think I'm probably more brave than most. And you can be too. You can do this as well. So it just takes a little bit at a time, a little bit every day. It was funny, Curtis Navarro came over, and he works a day job, and he makes good money. And of course, I always ask him, because it just sounds like it's run by, how do I say this? Unqualified applicants. And, somebody like me, somebody like Curtis, especially somebody like me, if I was to walk into a place like that, I would definitely kick ass and be promoted to VP of some shit quickly. But I'm like, it's still not satisfying, because then you still have to work with incompetence, and you can't just fire everybody that sucks. And it's definitely constraining. And for me, that's one of the reasons why I came up with the Starlink Studios idea, is that this controversy right now with Dave Chappelle and Netflix, that is such garbage bullshit. Really, there should be no politics with what Netflix does. But that's the thing is, and I know Sandler cut a multi movie deal. I think the last deal that he did was for 7 pictures, and they do it usually for like a nice heavy flat rate. And I don't know about on the production end and how that works, but one of the things I don't like about Netflix is they don't share their numbers. So when you do make a really excessively good film for them that brings in lots of customers or satisfies a lot of customers, you don't get a full equity share of it. And so you're like, well, they're the distribution company. And so that's why, for me, it makes much more sense for Tesla to come in as really just to act as the bank, and then employ a lot of my other ideas. One of the ideas that we came up with that I observed was, what was it? My cousin Jimmy. He posted a meme talking about, if goods are American made, they're not stuck in a shipping container somewhere. And I was like, well, that's a good point, but that's about 30 years too late. So, and it's just silly. There's plenty of stuff that's made here, and it's fine. And what was it? Anyways, sorry, I got a little distracted. Security was behind me. So anyways, my cousin Jimmy posted that, and I just sort of did a, laugh out loud. Like, that's, there's no way you can survive without China anymore. And it was about the network of intertwined things, of the way things get fucked, and the way things become unmanageable. So, but right now I got about 1,000 thoughts running through my head, and I got to kind of crystallize some of these here for you to kind of distill them. But basically, what I've seen performance as far as Tesla goes is they find an area of the market that could use some help. So they walk into a market and they say, okay, what are the problems that the market is experiencing? How can we do this more efficiently? How can we do this more effectively? How can we do this? How can we solve problems in a better way? And then they address those problems. So, but my buddy Jimmy was, or my cousin Jimmy, back to that, was my response to him about things being made in China was that blame greedy landlords, because that's where it comes from. There's a documentary called, God damn it, it's by Michael Moore. It was his first one. It's called Something in Me. I forget what it is, Fred and Me or whatever. It was the guy that ran GM at the time, and GM had lobbied for NAFTA, which was basically the ability to import from the Americas, North and South, without any tariffs. And there's all kinds of good sweetheart deals and bullshit in there to move jobs to Mexico and Canada. And but that's the thing, is one of the things that caused this was people wanting more money for the same job. And a manufacturing job is really, I mean, I tell you what, you really want to have somebody that has a low skill level, because they're not going to ask for a lot of money, and they can't leverage you, right? Because they don't have a lot of skills. And then you have them do the same job over and over again, and they become a master at that one job. And that's how you get really good manufacturing processes. I had talked to this is back when I was going to flip the property, and I started looking for other properties, and I ran into this cabinet maker guy with a huge warehouse. It was like 600,000 square feet. It was like, or maybe that's too big, 60,000. Yeah, 60,000 square feet. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to fill this? And I started thinking about ways to fill it. And so I asked him, I said, how do you get really good consistency like that? And he goes, you got to dumb it down. You got to, like whatever his name is, Juan or Jose or whatever the fuck it is. He says, learn Spanish. And he says, and you have these guys come in that are work for really cheap, because for them it's a big deal. It's a big upgrade compared to what they were making before. And you have them do one job, which is like, and then the other thing was you have to have lots of tools. So he had like, I think 8 or 10 table saws, and each table saw was basically a workstation where the guy would just run it through that workstation. That once the saw was set, that was it. You didn't touch it. You just ran the material through, and you processed it. And and then each station has one dude, and that's all you would do. So what's great about that is you end up employing a lot more people than you normally would for like skilled labor or things like that. But that's what manufacturing is. And so the problem is that if these guys can't control their costs, right, then they want more money. And good for them, right? And then what happens is you get a union, right? Because you feel like you're being cheated, because you see the company, especially top brass, getting paid all kinds of bonuses, whether the company does well or not. And there's some evil spirits that enter the company. And so what ends up happening is the workers unionize, and then they create a union. And what they don't realize is that the union bosses are just as corrupt and terrible as the corporation that they're fighting. And so now you got instead of having one evil king, now you got two evil kings that are like, we know what's good for you, and then they give you what is good for you. And it's a very weird thing to watch it happen. And I love to watch Elon Musk talk about this, and also if you read stories about how the Toyota plant in, I think it's Tennessee, was able to combat this. And other companies want to combat labor unions and things like that. So labor unions are not good. And I don't say that as a conservative or whatever. I don't have any political leanings. I think they're both corrupt. It's just about the way. It's sort of like a domino effect. Like it's a chain reaction that has been repeated over and over and over again, and it doesn't work. It's not effective. The best thing you can do is work for a company that is thoughtful and safe, and that I see all those things in Tesla. They pay very well. It's very high standard of work. Now, what you got to do is really think about the costs of living for your employees. And back in the old days, speaking of old cars, GM, back in the day, back in the 60s, the heydays, 50s and 60s, they were like what you'd see like what a Google campus is now, like a Yahoo or a Google campus, where they got fucking dry cleaning, they got child care, they got a doctor on premises, they got a dentist, they got everything on premise to help you work better and be more efficient and take care of that stuff. And that's what GM used to provide. And then slowly but surely they started taking that away, whether that was to squeeze more money out of the company or because workers wanted more, wages, better wages. So really, when you take on such large production like you do, you really got to set aside land and produce your own apartment complexes and studios. And that's the idea that I have for Starling Studios, is that that's one of the ideas that I had for Netflix back when I was trying to write movies for Netflix, but I realized that they're not the one. And then when Elon moved to Texas, that's when I realized that that's where it's really at, because you can still find cash flow properties in Texas. And I have not seen a cash flow property, or at least an affordable one, here in Arizona for a long time. It's one of those markets that's just saturated and really recovered quickly after the recession and things like that. But so as a company like Tesla or even Netflix, the idea of building your own high-rise that is just meant for housing for your writers and your staff and producers and things like that, it's not going to happen in California. It's just too fucked. And that's a lot of that has to do with the union and the way that things are set up there. It's too expensive. And so that's where, I see Tesla and I see Texas and I see it as a really great union. And dude, it's so rad to be able to buy whatever it is, 100 acres or something like that. And then you're able to provide this community that you can work out as a beta tester for your ideas for the solar program, for the EVs, for the communal EVs, and for a lot of the other stuff. And so that's what I want to be part of. So as far as the Starlink, I haven't really talked about the Starlink thing because the problem is that it doesn't appeal on the surface to most of you guys, most of the audience. And I would argue that. I would say you're wrong. This project, the Starling Studios project, would encompass everybody and everything. And that's really the direction that I see Tesla going, is really completely changing the landscape on everything. Because all they do is they come in and they go, what is the ideal thing that we could have it happen that is not harmful to the environment, that is cost effective, that makes things more profitable? And you examine the process and you see where there's a lot of hangups, and a lot of that stuff has to do with people being stupid. If you listen to Malcolm Gladwell about his statistics, there's so many things, so many laws, and so much government that is causing problems just because they're stupid, just because some of it is ignorance because they don't know any better. Some of it is affordability, but like here in Mesa, it's corruption. It's these people are just greedy, selfish pieces of shit that are lining their own pockets. And if you're not in that club, then you're not in charge. And then what ends up happening is like, well, it's pay to play, and it's, or are you in the good guy club? Are you in the Mormon Mafia? If not, then we try to box you out and treat you like shit, because they're the self-righteous ones and all that other bullshit. And I know this is not unique to Mesa. I know this happens all over the country. And so America is more corrupt than other countries. The problem is that the corruption is so organized, it seems like just policy. It's just, you're like, oh, that's just a policy. Well, That's a policy of corruption. But, you know, of course, you call it that. That's a terrible thing. That's, oh, no. So it's not just one person that's corrupt. It's the whole, whether it's a union or department or whatever it is. And so that's how you do it in America. So it's a hard thing to fight because, you know, you take somebody like AOC who comes from a background that she comes from, and her constituents that's what they're programmed to think. And so that's what she is paid to fight for. And that's what's going to keep her in office. And that's what it's going to keep her having a voice. So even representative democracy is corrupted, and not by any fault of hers. I'm sure she has great intentions. I'm sure she has great vision. But the problem is execution. If you can't execute it, what the fuck are you doing? And you realize it becomes very, very difficult to make change in your neighborhood and in other people's lives. And that's why I think really the best way to do it is through industry. And if you can go to somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, which I would love to do this, and I've actually tried to do this a couple of times, where you basically set up a mail order business. You buy land cheap. I don't know if I talked about it in a video. There was a place, was it 40 acres? It was 40 acres with a landing strip that was developed in the 50s and 60s. It had a small airplane hangar, which is a Quonset hut. And the guy, the dad had a stroke or something like that, and the kids just wanted to sell it. And like, I think 3 or 5 years prior to that, they had bought it for $260,000, and they were trying to sell it for $130,000. I think maybe I told you about this. And then that drunk guy Micah that's in the Drew video, he's got money, and so I said, hey, can you loan me $130K? I'll pay you 10% on it, which is what a hard money loan pays. And he ended up like doubling or almost tripling his money. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a really good deal for both of us. I was like, thank you, I'd really appreciate it. Well, the problem is Michael went in and they were asking $130, and he goes, I'll give you $100,000 cash right now. What the fuck? And then he's just like drunk, and I'm like, oh, just embarrassing. So, but you know, in the long run, I can see that move would have probably really stressed out my relationship, my health benefits, and a lot of other things. So I'm glad I stayed here in the city, but I'll kind of close on this because I know this is a little bit of rambling. So, and plus I see that cart over there, and I just want to go get that cart. So I'm a little distracted by that. It's like, you know, it's like, I gotta get the cart. There's probably a quarter in it waiting for me. But I wanted to share this, and I don't want to say beg, but I encourage you to really take a look into yourself and to what you need versus what you want. And then ask yourself, do you really want those things? Do you really need those things? Including subwoofers. So I think Curtis was coming in tonight, and he talked to somebody asked, you know, how come vendors don't accept Snap, you know, or some sort of payment for car audio. And it's like, well, first of all, that's what fucking credit cards are for, if you use a credit card. And second, like, who the fuck makes payments on car audio? And the guy who defended himself, he's like, well, I don't have a lot of money like the rest of these guys. And for me, my solution, of course, is, well, I'll give you a way to pay for it, which is the apprentice program. But guess how many people take me up on that? Hardly any. Because it involves work, and it's easier just to go to your shitty job and hate everything and be an alcoholic on the weekends and make a small payment of whatever it is, $40 or $50 a month for 60 months, paying 30% interest. It's easier, and you don't have to think about it. And so I encourage you to think more about it. Otherwise, you're going to end up doing the same shit your parents did and stuck in the same shitty job and line of work that they did. So it really requires some thought and some real effort to escape that. You know, in India, that's called the caste system. So, and in fact, a lot of times they don't want you to escape your caste. So they're like, nope, you're gross, you're dirty. You're not allowed to be that. So if you want to research on that, you can watch Slumdog Millionaire. That's a really good film. It's fun. There's a dance at the end. So, but anyways, I'm gonna gather these carts, get back home, and keep making some woofers for you guys. I love you. Thank you for your support. Continue to share the videos, and I encourage you not to boast or brag about the new information that you get from this channel. Just live it, right? And just like any of the Jesus information I give you, whatever, just live it. You don't have to go preach to other people. You don't have to rub it in their face or anything like that. That's kind of rude. The best thing you can do is live it and change your life and your children's life and your family's life, and go through that process of thinning the herd of people that are either going to be supportive of you or going to fight you. So, but anyways, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.